The plot centers around a father and his adult daughter who find themselves trapped in a deadly situation, not only due to a destructive hurricane, but also because of an unforeseen threat. The film takes place in hot, humid Florida, where the main character Haley is a professional swimmer. In one of her key competitions, she finished second, losing first place to another girl. This is a painful blow for her, but she hides her feelings, as her father had always taught her since childhood that showing weakness or emotions was not the way to handle things. After the competition, while in the locker room, Haley receives a call from her sister, who is surprised that Haley hasn't left town yet. The news has been warning about a Category 5 hurricane, which was supposed to bypass their area but changed course and is now heading directly toward their region. Additionally, the sister mentions that she can't reach their father. Despite the announced evacuation, Haley decides to go check on him and make sure he's okay. On her way, Haley leaves a message on her father's answering machine, telling him she's coming only because their sister is worried. It's evident that the relationship between Haley and her father has been tense for some time. As she drives toward his house, Haley is stopped by a police officer, who turns out to be her sister's ex-boyfriend. He doesn't allow her to go further, warning her about the danger. He promises to check on her father himself and insists that Haley turn around and head for safety. However, Haley only pretends to agree and soon tricks the officer, continuing on her way. When Haley arrives at her father's house, there's no one there. The only one who greets her is their dog Sugar, which strikes her as strange, since her father would never leave the dog alone. She searches the house and finds some of her childhood belongings and a family photo of her parents, which brings back memories of the past. She decides to head to their second old family house, the one her father planned to sell after the divorce. Haley assumes he might have gone there. By this time, the hurricane has intensified, with the rain growing stronger and the roads flooding. The city feels abandoned, with no one in sight. When she arrives at the second house, she notices her father's car parked outside. Entering the house, where the power has already gone out, Haley searches every room but finds no one. She then decides to call her father's cell phone but finds it lying on the kitchen counter, along with another hurricane warning. At that moment, a tree crashed through the window, startling Haley. Soon Sugar starts acting nervous, pulling Haley toward the basement. Descending into the basement, Haley finds some tools and finally, her father. He is unconscious but breathing. His body is covered in deep wounds, as if some predator attacked him. Upon inspecting his injuries, Haley realizes she needs to get her father to a hospital immediately. She does everything she can to drag him out of the basement, using whatever materials she can find to make it easier. However, just as she's about to reach the stairs, their path is blocked by a massive alligator that crashed through the staircase with its huge body. Alligators aren't an unusual sight in Florida, but Haley had never expected to encounter one in her father's basement. Panicking, she drags her father back and at the last moment, they manage to hide behind some metal pipes where they can take a brief rest. Meanwhile, the hurricane rages on, the rain intensifying, and the wind tearing through everything in its path. After a while, her father regains consciousness and, instead of thanking her, asks why she came, putting herself in danger. These were definitely not the words she wanted to hear and feeling hurt, she turns away. Her father insists that she leave immediately to save herself, but Haley is determined to stay and help him escape. She notices that her father has already survived an encounter with an alligator. In addition to deep wounds on his shoulder, his leg is also broken. Haley suddenly spots her lost phone and realizes she needs to retrieve it to call for help. Her father advises her to take a detour, believing it to be safer. While she crawls, her father tries to start a conversation, asking about her recent swimming achievements, but Haley doesn't want to talk about it. She's still angry at him for his breakup with her mother. Haley finds the phone, but before she can make a call, an alligator suddenly grabs her by the leg and drags her away. Her father watches in horror, unable to help. However, Haley fights with all her strength and eventually manages to free her leg and escape the reptile's jaws. She tries to run, but immediately encounters another alligator. In a panic, she injures one of them with a screwdriver and stumbling, manages to find refuge near some pipes. After bandaging her injured leg, she realizes that their situation is worsening by the minute, as water continues to flood the basement. Meanwhile, despite his injury, her father reaches the tools and uses them to stabilize his broken leg so he can move around. Haley notices people on the street opposite their house and starts calling for help. Soon, they realize that these are not rescuers but teenage looters traveling in a boat. One of them spots Haley and approaches to get a better look, but before he can help her, an alligator attacks his companion and drags her into the water, followed by him. The wounded man tries to tell his brother in the store to escape but doesn't succeed. Later, the second boy is also attacked in the water. Haley is in shock from what she's seen. Her father remembers that there is another way out of the basement, a hatch leading to the next room. He tells Haley where to go, and she heads upstairs. However, when she reaches the hatch, it's blocked by things on top, making it impossible to open. Later, they spot police officers paddling down the flooded street in a boat, and Haley desperately calls for help. One of them is the familiar officer who had promised to check on her father. Hearing their cries, he enters the house and realizes they are trapped in the basement. Her father immediately warns him that two deadly alligators are hiding in the house. The officer tries to radio his partner, but there's no response. His partner has already encountered a whole family of these dangerous creatures. The officer gets distracted, and one of the alligators lunges at him. The predator's powerful jaws grab him, and a brutal struggle ensues. The alligator viciously thrashes him from side to side. Haley, witnessing the horrific scene, tries to help the officer, but doesn't make it in time. In despair, realizing she's also in danger, Haley hurries back to her father. Overwhelmed by the shock of everything that's happened, she breaks down in tears, but her father comforts her, assuring her that everything will be okay. They have a heart-to-heart conversation, and both realize that their problems and misunderstandings stemmed from misperceptions of each other. Her father admits that his excessive strictness was a mistake, and Haley realizes that blaming him for everything wasn't fair. Forgiving each other, they feel a sense of relief and begin planning their escape. Haley decides to try reaching the stairs to get out of the flooded basement. Her father, despite his injuries, takes on the task of distracting the remaining alligators. He even manages to kill one of them with a shovel, but this only brings temporary relief. When Haley sees that the stairs are inaccessible, she decides to try escaping through a pipe, suspecting that this is where the alligators entered. Her father, panicked, shouts that it's dangerous, but Haley ignores his warnings. Reaching the pipe, she finds the body of the police officer and a nest of eggs, realizing that the alligators had settled there long ago. At that moment, she notices one of the predators swimming nearby. Thinking quickly, she grabs the officer's gun and shoots directly into the alligator's mouth, emptying the entire magazine and killing it on the spot. She then decides to use the pipe to escape. Her swimming skills prove to be extremely useful as she holds her breath for a long time and swims through the pipe. Emerging outside, she barely escapes from another reptile, just managing to get ashore in time. Meanwhile, the basement has completely flooded, and her father has very little time left. Fortunately, the dog they saved earlier helps Haley locate her father, showing her where he is. Haley begins breaking the floorboards to reach him but sees that he has already swallowed water. Pulling him out, she performs CPR, begging him not to leave her, and her father regains consciousness. Once outside, her father warns that they need to leave immediately because the dam is about to break, which would be a deadly threat to everyone. Their only chance is to reach the boat, but the path to it is through water teeming with alligators. They decide to move slowly, avoiding splashes to not attract the predators. Her father picks up the dog, and they start making their way forward. Suddenly, they spot an approaching alligator. Frozen in place, they hear the ominous sound of a siren signaling the dam's breach. Her father realizes they won't make it to the boat on foot. Haley decides to swim, knowing it's their only chance, and her father believes in her, telling her she's faster than those creatures. Haley makes the most important swim of her life, leaving the alligators behind and just managing to get into the boat at the last moment. Now safe, she returns for her father and the dog, bringing them on board. During their brief respite, the dam suddenly breaks, and a powerful rush of water carries them straight into the house on the boat. It seems they have found shelter, but inside they once again face the alligators, who still pose a huge threat. Her father quickly finds his secret stash of flares and, risking his life, saves the dog. However, in the process, he gets into a deadly fight with one of the alligators, which severely injures him, taking his arm, and then swims towards Haley. Haley manages to temporarily trap the alligator in the bathroom. She finds her father and the dog, and together they try to climb the stairs to find a safe place. On the way, her father notices how strong their house has been and nostalgically recalls how it has always been a place where they were a family. Haley responds that it's not about the house, they are a family no matter what and no matter where. Finally, they reach the roof of the house. Her father has lost a lot of blood and looks exhausted, while Haley, physically and emotionally drained, is barely holding on. But hope arrives when Haley spots a helicopter in the sky. Summoning her last bit of strength, she lights a flare, and the rescuers see them. The helicopter approaches, and the story comes to an end. Leave a comment about what you think of this movie. Thanks for watching till the end, and see you next time on our channel.